It's a privilege and honor to be with Dr. Kurien and to know and talk to him. Dr. Kurien, I would first like to know a little about your childhood. What was your childhood like?
Happy.
And your parents, your home, your schooling?
My father was a government doctor, what you call now a district medical officer or civil surgeon and so on. So I was born in Calicut, in Kaira, but I had my education in Madras, in the Presidency of Madras, as it was then called. I went to ordinary schools in little towns, little taluka headquarters or district headquarters. I remember getting a letter from a princess who wanted to donate cows to us. She had written this letter to Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, who was then the Prime Minister. She offered him 20,000 cows from Europe as a gift. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi asked me, how shall I reply? So I drafted his reply. In her letter she had written, the end of it all, that this matter can hereafter be pursued with Mr. So-and-so, who was an Indian name, but who lives in Spain. And she had put a PS, Mr. So-and-so studied at Doon School. So she is giving his credentials to Rajiv Gandhi, who, as you know, studied in Doon School. So in the draft reply I sent the Prime Minister, I wrote, you may deal with Dr. Kurien in this matter. PS, for your information, Dr. Kurien studied in Gobichettipalayam Municipal High School. What I mean to say is, my education was in ordinary school. But I was a very good student, of course. I am what you call a very highly successful man. Everything I touched went on well. I was very good in my studies. I got my BSc from Loyola College, Madras in 1940, and I was 7th in the presidency. I got my Bachelor of Engineering from Guindy Engineering College, Madras. I was 2nd in the university, and so on. So the entire career has been very good. I was representing the engineering college in 4 games. So altogether successful.
What were your dreams like when you were a child? Aspire for something, or you felt you wanted to be so and so?
Nothing special. Being successful in studies, in sports, I'm used to success. So I had no problem. The only disappointment came when I went and joined Tata Steel as an officer apprentice. But unfortunately, though that was a very prized selection, only 10 people are selected a year, and it is the elite of Jamshedpur. But unfortunately, I had a handicap there because the king of Jamshedpur was Sir Jehangir Gandhi, the general manager of the steel plant. And he was the king. If he smiled at you, you're made. If he frowned at you, you're through, particularly before independence. Now it so happened my uncle was his boss. He was the managing director of Tata Steel. So I was a very heavily favored man. So I decided I will leave Tata's. So when I told my uncle, he was upset. And he said, what? You are said to be the best apprentice Tatas have had for quite some time. I said, yes. Who would tell you that your nephew is a fool? He said, very commendable. So you're leaving? I said, yes. I have applied for a scholarship from the government of India, and I've been selected, and I am going to accept the selection. Then he said, why do you want to accept it? I said, because they will send me abroad at their expense. He said, if you want, Tatas will send you abroad. I said, no, uncle. I want to go somewhere where I'll build my future with my own efforts. And here, whatever I achieve will be because of you, and I don't like it. And that is how I accepted a scholarship and went abroad. So I did my master's in America, again with distinction. I represented the Michigan State College in tennis. Again, a very successful man. The only trouble was when I finally returned, Government of India forced me to go to a place called Anand because I was under contract. When they paid for your education, they can force you. And they threatened to sue me if I did not accept this job. Then I met my uncle, who by this time had become the finance minister of India. And I told him, can you get me a release? Release? He said, no, you made your bed, you lie in it. I cannot use my influence to get you
Out.
break your contract. Finance minister cannot do it. So you see, the standards of the government of India, when India became free, were extremely high. All those who were ministers, and I met many of them, were outstanding people of great integrity.
When you were abroad, what other activities apart from your education did you, have any kind of cultural interaction with people or?
Nothing special excepting that I played these games, played for my college, tennis and so on. I was very good at tennis.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, nothing very much, and I was highly successful in my studies. Some of the research that was done by me, one day my professor told me, you know how close you came to becoming a millionaire because of some research that was done on cast irons, which somebody else had done the same thing, and he became a millionaire. He beat me by a few days. So, yes, I was very successful in my studies. There was never any doubt in my mind, till I was forced to come to Anand, that I would be anything but successful.
What was that Midas touch, as you say, led you to all these successes in life?
That is till I came to Anand. Anand, when I came here, I had trouble.
In
because
what sense?
I couldn't get a house, because I was a bachelor, because I was a Christian, because I was a meat eater. So no Patel would give me a house here. So I had to live in the garage of the dairy, which had a pit in the middle, which I filled up, which had no windows, so I broke a window, which had no bathroom. I put 3 corrugated sheets and made my bathroom. Front door had fallen down. I said, never mind, why have a front door? Never had a front door. But the Kurien touches this. But I had a bearer, a uniformed bearer, who will wear his turban, his white coat and his sash. And he will come to me and said, Master, dinner is served. So that was the touch. And once in 2 months I will go to Bombay. I will stay in the Taj Mahal Hotel and do all the things I am not supposed to do. Enjoy myself. Otherwise I can't live another 2 months in Anand. So that is how I started.
As a kind of pep in life.
That's right. So, as you can see, my life in Anand was very sad. Here I cannot even misbehave, because this was a small town of 10,000 people. Everybody knows me. So, one had to misbehave also, I had to go to Bombay.
At that time you weren't married?
No. I couldn't afford to get married. You must understand, I was forced to come here.
Right.
And the salary I was getting here was half what I was getting from Tata Steel after my master's degree. So it was hardly enough to live. So, and then I joined this cooperative because I got into the influence of Mr. Tribhuvandas Patel, the founder chairman of Amul, and I decided to stay. So I stayed. And salary was very low. How can you afford to get married when you are an employee of a cooperative? So ultimately, my salary increased and it became 800 rupees. Then I told my mother, now I am prepared to get married. But by that time I was 32 years old. So you see, there is a price to pay. Nothing comes to you in this world free. You may be successful, but you have paid a price. So then I got married, and my poor mother had a lot of trouble finding a girl for me, because ultimately they will all say, whatever she said, what a wonderful son she had. Foreign education, foreign degrees, which those days were not too many. But ultimately the father of the girl will ask, but what does he do? And then you say, he is the chief executive of the Kaira District Cooperative Milk Producers Union. And I say, jao, madam, my daughter is not for this cooperative. If she could have said, my son is a junior executive in one branch of Nestle, a multinational company, then they would have been delighted to offer their girls in marriage. So this is the tragedy of cooperatives. No prestige. Probably it is true even today.
I suppose that was earlier.
I think it is even so today. You see, some of our economic policies bring the foreigner here to manufacture butter. What is wrong with the butter made by Amul? Where Indian talent, Indian know-how, Indian managerial skills can deliver the goods, why do you bring foreigners? The very fellows who refused to come before, till the cooperative showed the way. So I have a lot of criticism of my government's policies of liberalization, globalization, all these fancy words they have invented, all of which really means penetration of the Indian consumer market by American economic imperialism. And they use the World Bank and these such international institutions only to penetrate our vast consumer market. You must remember we are 900 million people and there are 300 million whose living standards are as good as the average of Europe. It's a vast consumer market. So now they all want to come in with hamburgers and Kentucky Fried Chicken to penetrate. What is wrong with our tandoori chicken? So I'm very disturbed that our economic policies are so subservient to the dictates of the World Bank, who in turn is dictated to by the United States government. So I hope that the government of India will one day become patriotic again.
So we go back again. So you got married when you were 32 and then you settled down in Anand, in the cooperative. How did the movement actually take shape? How did it?
The movement took shape without my help. You must remember that this movement of cooperative dairies was started by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. It is he who said that if the farmer is to get the maximum benefit, then he should own the dairy. So this was the philosophy he put forward when the Bombay government, and this was part of Bombay state, started the government of Bombay milk scheme, taking the milk from Anand to Bombay and marketing it. And it was done through a private dairy called Polson. And Polson wanted that the government should pass a law giving them monopoly of collection so that presumably they could further help the government milk scheme by collecting more milk. And government passed these laws prohibiting anyone else from collecting milk from Kaira district, which meant that Polson's collection, those who collected for him, who were milk contractors, one in each village, had the absolute monopoly of collection, which meant milk is a highly perishable commodity. It has to be sold twice a day, every day of the year, which meant that the contractor's price, whatever it was, however low it was, the farmer had to sell. And so the contractors became the dadas of the village. And it is then that farmers went to Sardar Patel, who, as you know, comes from a village, Karamsad, 2 miles from here, and told him, look at what is happening to us. Then Sardar advised them, if you want to get the benefit, full benefit of the market of Bombay, then you must own this dairy in Anand. Polson ko kadi mukho, throw him out. I mean, today they are saying, invite Polson. So I would rather agree that Sardar was right. Kadi mukho, throw him out. So, and therefore, Sardar told the farmers here, now I will send Mr. Moraji Desai, my deputy, to Anand. He will follow his advice. And Moraji Desai held a meeting 7 miles from here in a village called Chaklasi under a banyan tree, where one resolution was passed that the farmers of Kaira district will not supply milk from tomorrow to any contractor of Polson's or to anyone else, unless the government agrees that they may form their own cooperative structure and the government will take milk from this cooperative structure. Till then we shall go on strike. I was not here. Please understand, Kaira Union was started by the greatest minds in India at that time, by the greatest leaders India had. There are not too many Sardar Patels or Moraji Desais. Unfortunately, I can't even find people like Tribhuvandas Patel now. Men of commitment, integrity, without caste, creed, anything. They had none of these small feelings. So that is how the Kaira Union started. I wasn't here. Then the dairy started and government got hold of a dairy that was lying disused, government dairy that was lying disused, which was supplying cheese during the First World War to the British troops in Mesopotamia. And it was run by Polsons. And that particular dairy was given to the cooperative by the then Minister of Agriculture called Babu Rajendra Prasad, gave that dairy on 9,000 rupees lease per year. And that is how the Kaira Union started. And I had arrived here in 49. And there were all sorts of problems here in the cooperative dairy. The equipment was breaking down, milk was going bad, and so on. And this Tribhuvandas Patel used to come to the garage where I lived and say to me, this problem, that problem, will you please come and help? Because I was an expert, trained engineer from America. So the poor man thought I knew everything. So I used to go and help because I had no work. I was a government research creamery officer. And as you know, we do no research. Nothing was happening. So I used to go and help them. And that's how I got mixed up. And Tribhuvandas said, now will you please look after the office also, will you do this? And so he said, why don't you join us? That's how I joined.
After you joined, what were the developments that took place?
I said to Tribhuvandas Patel, you are a great nuisance to me. You should scrap this whole dairy. And you should build new dairy with modern equipment if you want to succeed. And he said, but what will it cost? I mentioned that it will cost new pasteurizer, modern one will cost you 40,000 rupees. So he left me and went away. Then he went to the Institute of Agriculture, the director of which was Maganbhai Patel, Dr. Maganbhai Patel, who was a very good man, and went to him and he was the vice chairman of the cooperative, and said, what shall I do? This man says, threw me out, saying, don't come here anymore. He said, you better borrow 40,000 rupees and follow his advice, because I think he knows what he's talking about. And so poor Tribhuvandas bought, and I had promised to install it and teach his men how to run it. When my resignation was accepted by government, I used to write to government every month. I have drawn my salary, I have done no work, why do you pay me for doing no work? Please accept my resignation, let me go home. So after 8 months they accepted my resignation. And I was getting ready to go when Tribhuvandas arrived. He said, you're going? I've ordered this machine, it's coming next week. How can you go? You please install it, teach our people to run it, then you go. How long will it take? I said, 2 months. And I said, Mr. Tribhuvandas, I need some money to live. How much money do you want? He said, 600 rupees a month. 600? He disappeared. Such salaries were unheard of. So he went to Maganbhai again. He said, what shall I do? He said, you have no alternative, pay me 600. So Tribhuvandas came back and said, 2 months, so why don't we settle it as a contract, 1,200 you install it. He thought on 600 rupees I may stretch it along several months to get the 600 rupees every month. So I finished the work and told him that it's finished. Then he said, I'll give you 700 rupees, why don't you look into the matters in the office also? Next month he came to me and said, why don't you, the manager, I'll give you 800 rupees. So like that, apart from bargaining for the first 600 rupees,
the rest
I have
came
never
to you automatically.
I never bargained. So you will see that it is Tribhuvandas who made me stay here and work as an employee of farmers. Though it is not a prestigious thing to do. You see, it's most unfortunate that prestige is something foreign. What is every Indian, good Indian? Who is a good Indian? A man who wears a suit. Who is a bad Indian? A man who wears a dhoti. These are our concepts. What is good? Oh, this is foreign, therefore it's good. What is bad? This is made in India, no good. So these are the ways in which we think, thanks to few hundred years of British rule.
So when this cooperative movement started in Anand, what was it that took it in a longer way? Farmers added to it, or they accepted things as it came to them? Or
you see, farmers' requirements are very simple. In dairying, it is they want their milk to be purchased. They want a price which is fair. If you can give them the profit of procurement, processing and marketing, which has profits in these processes, you can give them also in addition to the price of milk, then they really get involved in the whole process. And if they can elect their own board, which will manage this cooperative, and if it is a true cooperative, and not a cooperative which has been formed because of directives from government, which a politician heads and uses it for political purposes and so on, then it's not a good thing. But thanks to Tribhuvandas, Amul was a genuine cooperative.
how many farmers were there at that time?
When we started, we had probably about 200.
Just 200?
200. It became 20,000 and then it became about 40,000 when we built the new dairy here.
And when was the board formed?
Board has to be there in a cooperative from the word go. A cooperative is run by the elected representatives of its members. Government should have nothing to do with it.
Even earlier it didn't have
No, because those days, who wanted to capture a cooperative like this? Nobody wanted at that time. And there was Tribhuvandas here. And let me tell you that Tribhuvandas was a very important politician of the state of Gujarat. He was the Pradesh Congress president. There was only one Congress then. He was the man who was deciding who shall get a ticket for MLA or MP. He was deciding who shall become ministers and who shall not become ministers. So therefore, nobody interfered in this cooperative. And in his wisdom, he decided that it needed a professional manager. And he picked on me to be that professional manager. And so it was a combination of Tribhuvandas' political clout, he being accepted by farmers as an honorable man, as their leader, and me as a professional manager doing my job. And Tribhuvandas allowing me freedom to exercise my professional management.
How did the farmers take you to be?
In the beginning as a foreigner. In fact, there was a letter to Tribhuvandas, why have you brought this foreigner here? And he called a meeting of that village society to say foreigners. And he protected me, he defended me, he gave me full authority, never interfered in the management of the cooperative. But saw to it that I was sensitive to the needs of farmers, that I was responsive to their demands. And he taught me all that I know about how to be an employee of a cooperative.
That shows that he too had the deep insight into this cooperative.
You see, I'm trying to tell you that our political leaders of that time were remarkable people, were only thinking of what's good for India. They entered politics in order to fight the British, not to amass wealth. They were a different breed of people. It's a pity that that breed is almost extinct now.
When cooperatives flourished in Gujarat, what was the reaction within our country?
Within our country, generally speaking, it was considered to be an oddity, something new, something strange. You see, cooperatives are all the milk schemes of government were all running in losses. We had dairies, Bombay Milk Scheme, Delhi Milk Scheme, Calcutta Milk Scheme, every city had a milk scheme. And all of that had government officials running it. Some of them, most of them were departments of the government. And obviously it could not succeed. It acquired a lot of losses, a lot of corruption. And this was an example, Amul. And it is, Amul got its reputation after the visit of Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was then our Prime Minister, to Anand, and his desire to spend a night in a village. And instead of staying at my house as it was planned, because we had no guest houses, he went and stayed in a village as a guest of a small farmer. He ate with the farmer and his family. He walked around the village. He talked to farmers and their wives. Then he would say, where are the Muslim farmer? Then he would go and sit with the Muslim farmer and his wife, find out whether he is a member, whether he votes, whether there is any discrimination in the cooperative on the basis of religion. He will then say, where are the Harijans? He will go and ask them, is your milk also collected? Are you a member of the co-op? Do you vote? So he spent the whole night till 2 o'clock in the morning talking to farmers. And he had to be ordered to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't at the village, only the Prime Minister and one or two officials. It is after he came next morning, I met him in the village, showed him the working of the village co-op, brought him to Amul Dairy. He was then staying with me, then showed him the Amul Dairy. He had come here to inaugurate our cattle feed plant, which he inaugurated. And then he said, sit down, I want to talk to you. And what he said to me was very significant. He said, I have looked very closely at Amul. I spent a night in a village because I wanted to study it from grassroots level upwards. I am aware that we have 100 milk schemes, all of which are disasters, all of which do not satisfy those who supply milk to it. It does not satisfy those who buy milk from it. And they are incurring enormous losses. The one exception is Amul. So I wanted to know what is the secret of Amul. And therefore I spent a night in a village. I looked at the soil, good soil, but not better than the Indo-Gangetic plain. I looked at your climate, cool in winter, very hot in summer, but so it is in most parts of the country. I looked at rainfall, 30 inches of rainfall, 3 months of the year. So it is in all parts of the country, nothing strange there. I looked for vast availability of fodder and feeds. I thought the whole place would be a green carpet. It is not. This is like the rest of the country. I looked at your buffaloes. They're not very good. In fact, in my villages in Uttar Pradesh, we have bigger buffaloes giving more milk. I looked at your farmers, good people. Farmers are good people, but not as hardworking as the Punjabi farmer. And yet, you have this enormous dairy here, growing, putting out products which are internationally respected. Your trade name is respected, and there is no corruption. So I have come here to study the secret, and after studying it, I can see no secret. Is there a secret? If there is a secret, will you please tell me what is the secret? Then I said to him, the secret is that this dairy is owned by farmers. Dairies throughout the world are owned by farmers. In the United States, 75% of the dairy industry is cooperative. In New Zealand, 100% is cooperative. Throughout the country, throughout the world, Denmark, Holland, all cooperative. So there is nothing new what we have done here. What we have proven is what is true of the world, rest of the world is true here also. Cooperatives. So he said that means we can have many more anands. And in this process, Dr. Kurien, we will not only build up a dairy industry, but we will build up our people. And true development is development of people, not of cows. And if you involve them in the process of development, create structures they command, and if these structures are democratic in their operation, as cooperatives are, then you are underpinning our democracy in Delhi with democratic structures right down to the village level, giving meaning to cooperatives. So this is what India needs. And I'll give you a blank check. You hereafter work not for Anand but for India. Then I said, no, I am not prepared to come to Delhi, if that is what you are suggesting. I do not want to be an employee of government. I want to remain an employee, remain in Anand. If you want me to do anything, it should be after satisfying these two conditions. So he said, all right, we will form a national board, dairy board. You will chair it, and you remain in Anand, and I accept your conditions. So that is how the Dairy Board of India was formed. And he gave me the blank check. I went to Delhi, and I asked for a minister who was a very good minister called C. Subramaniam. I told him that what happened. He said, yes, the Prime Minister has talked to me. What do you want? I said, I want 30,000 rupees. He said, 30,000 rupees? I thought you would ask for 300 crores. I said, you know, my expertise is building institutions. I know how to do them. If you give me 300 crores, I cannot build an institution of any character. Because you're offering me money and because this body is to be government, I'm saying, give me 30,000 rupees. So he ordered the payment of 30,000 rupees. But I found that the entire Ministry of Agriculture was by this time very angry. They said the Prime Minister goes to Anand. The Prime Minister says that, meets this man who is mad and tells him that create Anands all over. Now we have a dairy division, we have a Ministry of Agriculture and a dairy division. We have officers there. Is the Prime Minister trying to say that we are not doing our job? Why should he insult us? So we'll see where he gets his money from. So they saw to it I didn't get the money. So I got not one penny to create the National Dairy Development Board, and I met C. Subramaniam and said that I'm not a beggar. I spent 2 days here with your trying to get 30,000 rupees. Then Subramaniam said to me, can you build Anand without our money? I said, of course, what is 30,000 rupees? Can you build a dairy board without our money? I said, yes, it can be done. I can do so. Then please, go ahead and do it. So this building where we are sitting, which is the first building of the dairy board, was paid for as a gift to me by the farmers of Kaira district. This land is a gift to me. From the day one, we had to earn our keep. Now, fortunately, in Amul Dairy, we had a lot of expertise. So we said we will give it to other group of farmers who want to have their own Anands, and we'll charge them. And this way, the dairy board began to use the technical expertise of Amul, because the dairy board had nothing, at different places, and created Mehsana, Sabarkantha, Banaskantha, Baroda, Surat, and so on. And then outside the state of Gujarat. And this way, we always earned our keep, made profit. There is not a single year when we have run in a loss over the last 31 years. We are today a very rich institution. so rich that I think thieves will come if we are not careful. So, yes, thanks to Lal Bahadur Shastri, all this has happened.
Which are the states in India that went in for cooperatives?
There are 22 states. We have now 176 Anands in India. Anand means a district union owning a dairy, processing plant. And between them they have something like 9 million farmers as members. There are 67,000 village cooperatives in 67,000 villages. And all this has been built with no money from government. And also, what is more important, Anand means not merely collecting the milk, but to recognize that the privilege of collecting the farmer's milk must go with it the responsibility to help the farmer increase his production. So you have to provide him inputs, artificial insemination, veterinary aid, cattle feed, everything that goes to help the farmer increase the production. So all that is being done in Anand, and we replicated it elsewhere. So today the amount of milk we collect is approximately, I would assume, 1.4 million liters of milk a day. These are huge operations. And more importantly, the milk production of India has increased. It has tripled in the last 21 years. It was stagnant before, and now it is triple. I hope you realize what is triple means. Instead of 20 million tons, we are producing more than 60 million tons. An increase is 40 million tons. 40 million tons of increase of production means 40 million, a ton of milk costs 10,000 rupees. So 40 million, 10,000 rupees, which is 40,000 crores of rupees. So what Operation Flood has done is to pay the farmers 40,000 crores of rupees more than what they were getting before. For an investment of 100 crores a year for 20 years, we are now paying back to farmers 40,000 crores of rupees per year. As the World Bank auditor put it, there is no project in the whole world where the input 100 crores, output 40,000 crores. Such input-output ratio exists in no other scheme in the world.
And that, I think, radically has put us on the world map.
Certainly. And now that we have started exporting and we have stopped all the imports, now more new types of problems are coming to us. Now the advanced countries are upset.
Why so?
Because India has become a threat in the world market. We started exporting, and when we start exporting, others are losing markets. So New Zealand, Denmark, Holland, United States, all of them get upset. You must understand that India is a giant. The whole world is happy when the giant goes to sleep and does not do anything. The whole world gets upset when the giant wakes up. So that is what is happening in India. It's a giant with immense strength. It can shake the world, and advanced countries don't like it. All political equations, all economic equations, all military equations, everything will become different once India stands up.
So that is one aspect that India, as you said, is waking up. But do you think that politically this thing has, it is really very viable in the present day?
I think what you're saying is our democracy has many problems.
Exactly.
And many evil things have got into our democratic form of government. The solution to the evils of democracy is not that we abandon democracy, because there is no other system of government which is any better. Of all the systems of government, with all its evils, democracy is probably the best form of government. Therefore, there is no question of us solving the problems of democracy by jettisoning democracy. That cannot be done. The only solution to the evils of democracy is more democracy. Creation of more democratic structures. If we can create a cooperative nationally, as we have done under Operation Flood, if you can create a plurality of such democratic structures, structures owned by people, managed by people, instead of structures dominated and managed by the bureaucracy for their own good, if we can involve our people in the governance of this land, not merely by having MPs, but everything, handling milk, handling sugar, handling paddy, handling electricity. Everything can be done by our people. Our people are good people. I've traveled all over the world and I can assure you our people are intelligent people and there is a lot of goodness in them. As I always like saying that all our bad people from our villages have already gone to Bombay in search of money and to Delhi in search of power. Now only the good people are left in our villages. Now if you involve the good people of India in the governance of India, then we have nothing to fear.
But don't you think the controlling factor is somewhere else?
No, our people should be asked to awake. They should learn to throw out the corrupt people. They will learn. How is Amul standing there as an example of a democratic structure? There's a lot of money in it. But no one would politicize Amul. The members won't allow it.
Could you please elaborate about flood operation phase 3?
Phase 3 is over. We have, as I said today, as a result of Operation Flood 1, 2 and 3, we have erected this very large structure. We have tripled India's milk production. We have this very large number of 176 dairy factories. We are now exporting dairy products. All this has been done. What I would do if I were government would be to enlarge upon this in other fields, not merely dairying, but in several fields.
But I suppose that has been done in oil seeds?
Oil seeds to some, yes. But apart from us, no one else wants to do this. A government is still dominated by the bureaucracy. You see, what is done by government is what is good for the bureaucracy. You must understand that empowerment not of the people, but empowerment of the bureaucrat. And that should be reversed. We should reduce the profile of government. We should bring up the profile of people's institutions. That is what I would do if I had anything to do with the policies of the government. And it is because I speak in this manner that several people in the bureaucracy are against me. Fortunately, there are also some in the bureaucracy who understand what I am saying, who are in sympathy with what I say. There are many who, having seen Anand, have understood. So there is hope.
How do you think this cooperative, which has flourished in this state to this extent, has not flourished in other states?
Because in the other states, a cooperative has not been given a chance. As soon as we say create a cooperative, they create a government appoints a board, government appoints the chairman, an IAS officer becomes the managing director. There is no democracy. This is not a cooperative at all. Just by calling it a cooperative, it won't become a cooperative. The touchstone of a cooperative is, are people managing it? Have they the final say? Can the managing director be appointed by the board, elected board? Can he be removed by the elected board? If you apply these touchstones, which are the elements of democracy, elements of cooperation, you will find all of them have not got this at all. There is no cooperative.
Then how do you think it can be?
By education, by cooperative education, which is a campaign which we have launched, which we will do more of, by telling the farmers what their rights are, what their responsibilities are. You know, rights and responsibilities go together. You can't claim rights unless you accept responsibility. So all this is being taught to them. And changes are occurring. We have turned around Kolhapur in Maharashtra. We were told it's running in a loss, it is not working at all. I said, hand it over to me, I'll turn it around. It took us only 2 months to make it profitable. We have just taken over 14 dairy factories, cooperatives in Rajasthan. All the dairies, because the Chief Minister said, they are all running in a loss, it's no use, your ideas are not good. So he said, we'll show you that my ideas are good. We took over these cooperatives, which together were incurring a loss of 6 crores a year. And it took us only 1 or 2 years. It is now making profit. And we are managing it. So you will see that our structures, if given a fair chance, you see, the chance required is trust your people. They are not bad people. Let them manage. And when they mismanage, the other people will put them right. So don't be afraid.
So cooperatives, as you said, has given us the prestige, the honor.
Yes. We are respected throughout the world.
And for that reason, particularly you, who has taken a lot of initiative and taken it a long way ahead, I would rather ask you a few questions about how the cooperatives which started in the east or the south, especially in Bihar or in Andhra, why have they not come up?
You are not right. Only some 20 days ago, I was in Patna at the invitation of the Patliputra Cooperative Union. They had a meeting of some 50,000, 60,000 farmers to honor me. This is because the Chief Minister at that time, Mr. Mishra, said that cooperatives are all failure. It does not work in Bihar. Bihar people are not Gujaratis, and this cooperative may work in Gujarat, but it will not work here. I told him, do you know the Milk Commissioner of Bombay at that time said to his boss, concede their demand for a cooperative. Cooperatives to succeed in India. This is not New Zealand. This is not Denmark. That Milk Commissioner told his boss, that Deputy Milk Commissioner told his boss, concede, look at these leaders, Gandhi Topis, they don't speak English also. And look at Paulson, a New Zealander is their manager. And these people are going to succeed. Concede their demand, they will only go to dogs. And so the demand was conceded. The demand made by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel that give the dairy, let the dairies be owned by farmers. And you have seen what Tribhuvandas did with it. So please understand that cooperatives have never been given a chance in India. They have been officialized, they have been bureaucratized, they have been politicized and thus neutralized. If you give cooperatives a fair chance, I think the people will show what they can do. The inherent goodness of our people, the inherent wisdom of our people. You know, we are a very old civilization, 5,000 years old. We have been keeping cows for 5,000 years. We don't need lectures from anyone. If the will of our people will prevail, all will be well with India.
What is the distinct factor, as you said, among Gujaratis? Like you said that the Biharis felt that it's not Gujarat and cooperatives...
Not Biharis, the Chief Minister felt.
Oh, I see.
But when we gave the power to the people of Bihar, they are running Patliputra dairy themselves and in a profit every year. Whereas the bureaucracy of Bihar could not run it and was incurring enormous losses. So this is the point I am making. I want to reduce the profile of government. Government should not be running dairies. Farmers should own and run them. Less of government, the better, everywhere.